thank you to the donator who sent these. That's amazing, man. I can't believe you gave these to me. It's just crazy, man. I love these stones, and it's something I'm going to be able to use and treasure for a long time, and I can't thank you enough. Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara is at work, and today we are checking out the Venev pheonix series dual-sided diamond stones. Now, these knives were donated to us by an awesome person. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I don't like to put people's information out there that didn't ask me to. You have no idea how much I appreciated this. I've been wanting to test these out for so long, and now I'm finally getting to the review after doing all my testing on them. And the way I wanted to do this review was I wanted to do it basically just from my experience, not from information I read or seen or anything like that, just from my actual personal experience. So that's where we're going with this. I'll give a little bit of information that the site has and stuff like that, but for the most part, it's going to be my experience. So this is what they come in, and you see the information right there. This one's the 8 and 12 OCB. Same thing on this one. Now, the OCB you will not get on the lower grits. The lower grits are like the 80 to 150. And what that means is the OCB doesn't have the extra, like, basically extra abrasive particles that are in the resin. Because what this is this is resin bonded diamonds. So like there's diamonds that are infused in the resin, and it's evenly distributed throughout the resin and then laid on the aluminum. It basically means that you're gonna get diamonds through and through. Instead of it just being on the surface, it's inside the resin. So it'll last for a long time. Now, the OCB ones don't have an extra abrasive in the resin like the lower ones do. The lower grits, they have an extra abrasive inside the resin. At least that's what I've learned or read. Now, I can only speak on these two stones because these are the only two stones I have. I can't speak on all the other ones, so I'm just basically going to speak on my experience with these. Now, these are basically 1 millimeter thick of the resin bonded diamonds, but that's going to last a long time. This is a very, very hard surface, and it breaks down very, very slow. So depending on how much sharpening you do, these could possibly last you forever. That's why they're pretty expensive. The one's about $80 something, $81, and the other one's about $96. That's not cheap, but if you listen along, you might find out that it's actually worth that, like 100%. Now, these being the OCB ones, they leave a better finish, a more of a scratch-free finish, so that you can get up to a mirror finish, or so that you can have a more of a finer finish and less of an aggressive grit pattern on your bevel or, you know, on your scratched surface. And they come in, I think, 6 different combinations, you know, with these stones. This one here, we got the 244 or the 240 and 400, and then the 8 and 1200. Now, using these, I learned that you're supposed to use water on these. You put water on them, you sharpen on them. But I did hear from somebody else that you should use oil. So I didn't ever use oil on them, but what I did do is I did mix soap and water, some Dawn soap and water, and it worked better. It did, because what it did was it kept the... Okay, so you see the steel right there, that line? It helps keep that off of the surface and like up in the water. So like while this is coated with water, it helps keep it from bonding to the stone, because eventually you are going to have to scratch up the surface to basically get the steel, to remove the steel and to expose the diamonds. What I've been using is just this little Lansky core stone. It's an aluminum oxide stone, and it seems like it works very well. they recommend, you know, basically I think like an aluminum oxide stone, something like that. So that's what I have. And while it's wet, I know it's not wet right now, you scratch the surface up like this, and it helps remove the steel and expose the diamonds for it to cut faster. So my experience with them, I thought from listening to other people that I thought that they were going to cut very slow, but they actually cut faster than I thought. They're not as fast as just a regular diamond plate, but a regular diamond plate eventually will wear out. Once the diamonds are gone off of the surface, they're done. With these, they continue to keep cutting and keep working, so they last a lot longer. Now, they don't cut as fast, but they do cut fast still, especially with the lower grits. But the finish is a lot finer. So, and from what I hear, basically like the 400, so that would be this side, is basically like a 1200 grit stone. So this being the 400 is basically like a 1200 grit finish. Then if you go all the way up to the 1200, that's basically a mirror finish. And it seems like it's about like a 3000 grit finish, something like that. It gives you a good mirror finish, and that would be this side right here. So the texture to these, it kind of feels like a ceramic stone, but with a little bit of cushion. I don't know if that makes sense. So like a ceramic stone is very, very hard. Here's a Spyderco ceramic. It's a very, very hard stone. Now, this feels a little similar to it, but it has a little bit more of a chalky cushion feel. So it doesn't feel as hard as this. And it cuts a lot better. I do like these better than I like the ceramics. Now, one reason that I found is that the ceramic is more, it doesn't cut as fast, and I know this is the ultra fine, I do have the medium, but they don't seem like they cut as fast, and the finish isn't as good in my opinion. Also, I like the way that your edge deburrs off of these. The burr comes off very easy with these. With the ceramic, it seems like you fight the burr a little bit more. And I try to keep my burr as small as possible. With these, once I go to my strop, I almost don't even need to strop. Now, obviously, you still can, or if you need to, you do. But it doesn't seem like you need to as much. It seems like once you, you know, get down to your 1-in-1 passes, your burr gets knocked off very easily. Unlike the ceramic, which you might be fighting the burr a little bit more. So when using these, usually for the most of the time, I usually start with this one, the 240 stone, and then I move to the 400. A lot of times that's where I finish. A lot of times I don't even use this one. So I'll finish on this stone. It gives me a great, great finish. I recently did this Gail Bradley on a live sharpening video, and it gave me a very, very nice finish, and a finish that I like. This is M4 steel, but I really like the finish. A lot of times I don't like to go all the way down to a mirror, or up to a mirror finish. Now you'll see here my grip pattern, but you see the finish here. Sorry it's so shaky, but you see the grip pattern here. That's a great grip pattern to me. A lot of times I don't like to go up to a mirror finish, but when you do, it does do a pretty good mirror finish. Here is, look at it without the loop. Looks really good. But as you zoom in here, you can see that it does still have a beautiful scratch pattern. Now remember, to the naked eye, that is a mirror finish, but when you zoom in 60 times, you see the grip pattern. Sorry, it's so shaky. Now, sometimes I don't like to go up that high with my grits, or, you know, with my edge. A lot of times I just like to stick to the 400, which is basically like a 1200 grit finish. But when I do want a mirror finish, this is very nice, and it gives you a good mirror finish that has a lot of bite. As you can see, you've seen to the naked eye, it gives you a mirror finish for the most part, and this has been used since I sharpened it. But so with a mirror finish, it still keeps a lot of the bite that you want, you know, instead of going up to a mirror finish and it being too fine. Now, I'm not saying certain steels it won't be very fine, but for the most part, even on a finer grit, you're still going to have more bite than other stones. Some other stones. Now, when it comes to certain steels, you might not want to use these. These work really good with the high performance steels like S90V, M390, 204P, S110V, you know, S35VN, it worked really good. I even got a really good finish on 14C28N. Here's a knife that I did. This is 14C28N, and I took this one up to the highest grit, which would be 1200 on here, which would be like, I think it's 3600 grit is what it would wind up being, something like that. Something like 3000 grit. It is a mirror finish. It looks really well, really good, and it came out very sharp. It still has some bite to it. I think it would have been a little better if I would have stopped at this one instead of going to this one. This one definitely put the mirror on it, but I think this one, it would have just served 14C28N just a little bit better. And that other one is 800. So this is 1200 and this is 800. But remember, they're higher grit than that. That's, you know, that's like I said, the 800 would be like what, 816, like 2200 grit or something like that. I think I should have stopped at that one, the 800, which would be like 2200 grit, 2400 grit, something like that. But it still is very sharp. I mean, it still has a lot of bite. And if I would have laid the edge back just a tiny bit more, I did follow the bevel that was on there, which is probably like 22 degrees. If I would have laid it back, you know, I probably got it at like 20 degrees, but if I would have laid it back to 17 degrees, then it'd be even better, like with the, you know, using the last stone, using the highest stone in the mirror finish. Because when you go that high, you want to make sure your angle's right. That has a lot to do with how your edge is going to turn out. If it's too shallow of an angle, then it's not going to have the bite you want. So, but it's still very, very sharp. Came out very nice. And 14C28, and you know, that's why I love this steel, man. It just does good. It's an all-around good steel. M4, S30V, stuff like that. But on the real lower side, you might not want to use these. You know, they'll still work. They'll still sharpen your edge. But I felt like other stones worked better on the budget steels. Now, like I said, 14C28N worked great on these. But like other lower things didn't seem like it worked so good on this. Now, like D2 worked just fine, but I did want to stay on the lower grit. I didn't want to really work my way up. And I found that D2 does work a little bit better with like aluminum oxide or just a regular diamond plate, because I like a D2 finish with just regular diamond plates. Like I said, it did work, just not to the performance level of which I preferred with some of the budget steels. But for the performance steels, you really get to the next level of sharpening. Now, I don't think these are for everybody because they are expensive. And there are a lot of stones out there that you can get that will sharpen your knife just fine. But if you're wanting that extra edge, or if you're doing a lot of sharpening, these are great because one, they don't break down as fast, so they last a very long time. They're nice flat surface. They cut relatively quick. They give you a nice finish, and you know, and they cut any steel. So you can cut the high performance steels and have a stone that lasts a very long time. Now, if you're not sharpening that often, it's probably not really for you. Or if you're not like just balls deep into sharpening, then it might not be up your alley. But if you are, these things are amazing. I'm loving these stones. And also another thing that I really love about these is that I don't have to worry about killing them. Like with diamond plates, I have to be careful on, you know, you want to be a little more gentle with, you don't want to break the diamonds off, you want them to last a long time. With these, they're going to last a long time regardless. Now you do have to, you know, especially with the higher grits, you have to constantly, you know, condition them with an aluminum oxide stone, because they are going to get clogged a little bit faster. But like I said, for me, it seemed like the soap and water worked a little bit better than just regular water. Regular water does work just fine too, but the soap and water just seemed like it increased the performance a little bit better and the longevity of how often I had to condition them. Holding my angle was great too, because I tend to do a trick where I put my finger in front of my edge and I use it as a guide. So I tend to drag my finger back and forth on the stone. These tend to be a lot more softer on my finger than a regular diamond plate, yet they cut really good. So I think that they work really good for that. Now, even without me using my finger as a guide and just using the stone, it's a lot easier. It's easy to hold your angle on these stones. They give you that little bit of bite that you want to help you hold your angle, because for me, the slicker the stone, the harder it is sometimes to hold the angle. These are slick, but they give you that little tiny bit of resistance from the diamonds in there that help me hold my angle a little bit better. Now that could be just a personal thing, because like with ceramic stones, I can hold an angle but it took me a little bit longer to really understand the feeling and the sound of the ceramic plate. Because, dang, I just cut myself with this bad boy. Anyways, so it took me a little bit longer to really get that feeling, because with ceramic plates, if you know how to use them, they do help you hold an angle a little bit if you really understand the sound and the feeling. These are a little bit easier to hold your angle on and to find your angle and just really, really consistently keep that angle. And it's also easy to see, like when you're looking at your angle. And, you know, like the shadow, I guess, that's underneath it. It really helps when you can feel it and you can repeat your angle back and forth. I found that these do help me a little bit with repeating my angle when if I'm on this side and then I switch to this side. Now when I go back to this side, I feel like it's easy for me to find the angle I was already using or already, you know, sharpening on. And like I said, these are finer. So like compared to regular diamond plates, these are a lot finer. They're not going to give you the aggressive finish that maybe a diamond stone will give you. Unless if you're using the lowest grit. Now, compared like a 400 grit for this versus a 400 you know, diamond plate, night and day difference. You know, this is going to be, the 400 on this is going to be like a 1200 grit diamond stone. It's just, you know, that's just the way it is. Now, it does cut fairly quick, but not as quick as a regular diamond plate will. And I do think that these will help you get the performance out of your performance steel. And that's what I mean with it working better on certain steels than others. The high performance steels, it does sharpen better than other stones, and you get that edge that maybe that steel is supposed to get. I've sharpened a lot of different steels on these. I've used the heck out of these things, and one, they seem just like they first came, like meaning like I don't feel like I've wore them out at all, and two, I've really gotten to experience all the different steels on them and the performance of the steels after using the steels, so getting to use the knife. All right, guys, this week I already did film a full sharpening on these that I will be posting this week. Also this week I'm going to be talking about a lot of sharpening techniques, tips and tricks. Even if you have a KME, it doesn't matter. Some of these tips and tricks can go any direction. But yeah, make sure you guys watch out for that if you like the sharpening content, because I got a lot of really cool tips and tricks coming up this week, and also full-blown sharpening on these stones. I will be making more videos on these. It's just I can't get all the information I want to get out there in one video. You guys know how it is. I love you guys. Peace.